Hi everybody, welcome to the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, Pete's here, Gary's here. They've all got a glass of wine, I haven't.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Cheers. I'll catch up with you down the track. Yes, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. As you would know, interest rates up 25 basis points, but we all knew, suspected, predicted that. The big four banks have all announced that they will pass that interest rate rise on to customers. Now, one thing we have to remember, though, when we're talking about interest rates, is that a third of Australians have no mortgage. For self-funded retirees, interest rate hikes are, well, appreciated. But having lived through Paul Keating's 22% interest rates, I refuse to be panicked. Having said that, it is cost of living pain that we don't have to go through. Productivity is below what it was 10 years ago, and here we have people talking about a 4-day working week and working from home, none of which does any good for productivity. Productivity growth is a big part of this story, according to Michelle Bullock, head of the RBA. Insanity. Why isn't the government listening? Anyone who could come up with the NDIS should never be allowed anywhere near the Treasury benches. That's a fact. It's a recipe for bankruptcy. No other country in the world has such a scheme. You know that. There has to be a reason for that. The stubbornness of Jim Chalmers is unbelievable. He can't understand. Read the room, join the dots, read the tea leaves. Our cost of living problems are caused by government spending, which is running at 27% of GDP. But mostly it's the cost of electricity. This country and its past prosperity were built on cheap energy. This government is guilty of lots of things, but that's their biggest sin. And they lie and they deny and they tell us that, never mind, we're saving the world. No, we're not. But in any case, saving the world is not their job. I wonder where the media is. Funny about that. If rising interest rates are there to take... This is just a wild thought. If you were raising the interest rates to take money out of people's pockets, curtail spending in other words, and therefore taking the money out of the economy, a far better way of reducing the amount of money in circulation would be to temporarily increase the amount that we contribute to superannuation. You see what I mean? We would have the same effect. We would have less money in our pocket, less money to spend, less money in circulation, which is what all this is about, but we get the money back later, right? Why hasn't somebody thought of that? Or here's another idea, just simply make inflation tax deductible. Well, why not? Because if you've got $1 in your pocket, and if every quarter it's worth less, and that's caused by, well, not your fault. If you were making money with that dollar, you'd be taxed on it. If you are losing money on that dollar, you should be able to claim it as a deduction. Have a think about that. I think that's worth exploring. I love this state Labor government here in South Australia. They promised ahead of the election this year to spend $100 million in Murray Bridge. No, they won't. You and I will spend $100 million in Murray Bridge. The government doesn't have any money. It is our money. I don't think he ran that past us before he went up there and made the big election campaign winning announcement. Again, $40 million of public money to bail out Bedford Industries. And this is not the first time. A new owner. Great. But what of your union, Mr. Premier, who says this is a sweatshop, slave labour? I disagree with that, by the way, wholeheartedly. And I wouldn't dispute the money that's given, but I point it out. This is what unions say about sheltered workshops. Sweatshops, they call them. This entire not-for-profit area, however, needs public scrutiny. What went wrong with the last owner? Not-for-profits and charities, I mentioned this before, are worth something like $200 billion a year. Many are good, but lots are crooks and frauds and charlatans, and some of those not-for-profits, you know, if you look at the law that governs that sector, there is nothing that says they have to tell the donor how much of his dollar goes to the cause for which he is giving that dollar. In fact, he doesn't, that is the charity, doesn't even have to give anything to the cause. That whole area needs to be looked at. A re-elected Labor government would transform the Women's and Children's Hospital into an aged care centre. You might have seen this on the news the other day. Now, I don't understand this. It's not that we don't need more aged care facilities. We do. But this is a functioning hospital. We have ramping and shortage of beds, yet we would close a perfectly good hospital? Why? Wouldn't we keep that hospital infrastructure to take the pressure off the system? Yes, devote part of it to aged care, fine. That would be a far better decision than to create more residential apartments. We need more hospital beds. Right? Now, I think it is fair to say the government and the opposition, I mean, you might disagree with this, and I invite you to ring me tomorrow, 8491 65 68 60. But I think it's fair to say that the government and the opposition don't really know what they're doing. They are relying on short-term thinking, gimmicks. They have advisors and spin doctors, people without responsibility or name. They come up with random policy ideas. I agree with the Premier. He says the opposition here in South Australia, the Liberal Party, has had 3 separate stamp duty policies in a very short time. Vincent Talia had the best one, which was simply abolish stamp duty on private houses. That was what was promised when the GST was introduced. The Libs could also promise something of substance. If you want to win the election, okay, I'll give you a few little ideas here. Smaller government, less red and green tape, less bureaucracy. Instead of taking money from the public, cut government spending. The best example I can give you is that back in the day when Tom Playford was Premier, back in the day when we actually did things, made things, produced things, do you remember those days? Back then, the Premier's department, and this probably applies to every department in the whole joint, but back then the Premier's department was 3 people, and one of them was the Premier. So the whole Premier's department was 2 people, and one of them, bless him, was Tom Playford's batman from the First World War who only had 1 arm. And he doubled as the doorman from time to time. That's what you call a government. Today, under Peter Malinauskas, charismatic and all as he is, there are 503, not 3 in the Premier's department, 503 people in the Premier's department. What do they do? The whole thing's a joke. But we have allowed it. We've allowed it. Peter Barnes. I don't know very much about Peter. I'm going to try and get him on, not tomorrow because we're chock-a-block, we're full, but down the track we will. Peter Barnes posted this from the Brumby Action Group, which is in Melbourne. One of the most unforgettable light horse photographs that captured the incredible bond between soldiers and their horses. The loyal and courageous horses of two fallen Australian light horsemen stand behind their graves. Both men were killed when they were ambushed by Turkish soldiers on the 29th of September in 1918 in the First World War. The Australian light horse holds a proud and revered place in the hearts and the minds of Australians. I would like to think most Australians. The whalers carried their men to victory in World War I and were regarded as amongst the finest cavalry horses in the world. The Australians were devastated to learn that their beloved horses would not be coming home with them at the end of the war. This memorial I just spoke of is located on the south-western external wall of the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney. I had the picture and we just couldn't. I wanted to get it on this posting, but we couldn't do it technically. But I'm sure you could Google it or find it. It's amazing. It's a beautiful, heart-rending picture. This whole thing, it remains, to me, unthinkable that these callous, uncaring bureaucrats and politicians would kill every single wild horse in the Kosciuszko National Park, some 780,000 square kilometres of space, plenty of room. They even passed an Act of Parliament to allow them to do it, and then tell us that they're acting in the public interest. Absolutely disgraceful. I don't know how much time I've got, but I want to mention, and in further postings, this castle legislation, which I think we all have to get behind. They now have hundreds of thousands of people who have signed petitions demanding that as citizens and homeowners we have an inalienable right to protect our property and our families, knowing that the law will back us. Now that would be good legislation. Don't forget to put some water out for the birds. It's not too hot today. It's certainly been hotter. Put some water out for the birds. And speaking of the heat and animals, I don't know, I must look it up, but I keep seeing out there those big trucks. They've got chickens in those yellow crates on the back, or there are pigs being transported, or cattle, sheep. There should be a law against these animal carriers moving animals when the weather is over a certain temperature. If there isn't a law, there should be. It should be about 30 degrees. Because it would be incredibly, absolutely incredibly cruel to transport animals in these little confined spaces in those sort of temperatures. So if you have any opportunity coming up to an election to speak to your politician or your elected representative, it might be something to bring up with him or her. And I wish you a happy birthday, and I look forward to your company tomorrow. February 12. Yeah, February the 12th. Golly. February 12. 2019. The Australian government loses historic vote on its own bill with an amendment to allow offshore Sikh refugees access to health care. The first loss in 78 years. That's the only detail I've got. I don't know the backstory to that. 2019, that would be, Labour would have been in 2019, I think. Anyway, Louis Renault, French automobile executive, Renault Motors, born in Paris, France. He died in 1944, but he was born on this day in 1877. The third British Empire Games close in Sydney on this day in 1938. The great Charles M. Schulz, American cartoonist, Peanuts, dies of a heart attack while battling colon cancer. He was only 77. The year was 2000. Valet Charles M. Schulz. 1908, New York to Paris auto race via Alaska and Siberia begins in New York City. George Schuster wins after 88 days behind the wheel. That was this day in 1908. Fred Goldman says that he will settle for a signed murder confession from O.J. Simpson in lieu of his $20.5 million judgment. This day, 1997. First injection of penicillin into a patient by British physician Charles Fletcher at the Radcliffe Infirmary in Oxford, England, this day in 1941. And my God, that was an incredibly important day. I mean, the number of people, the only thing that they had in wartime, or really for a long time in the 40s, was sulfur. That's all they could put on a wound. And so many people died of sepsis and blood poisoning, God knows what. But that, the invention of, or the discovery of penicillin was an amazing one. 1941, saved many lives. Many, many, many lives. Anna Pavlova, Russian prima ballerina and choreographer. Dying Swan, born St. Petersburg, Russia, dies 1931, born 1881. Queen Elizabeth, no, Queen of England for 9 days. Wasn't exactly a long reign, was it? 9 days, Lady Jane Grey, aged 17, is executed for treason under Mary I at the Tower of London. This day in 1554. It's one way to get rid of your competition.
Eliminated.
Yes, well, yeah. First secret demonstration of radio signals detecting aircraft by Robert Watson Watt and Arnold Wilkins in England, 1935, which I guess would be the beginning of radar. 1914, The Score Man, the first feature-length film shot in Hollywood, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, released in America on this day in 1914. Lily Langtry. Lily Langtry, I know that name. 1929. Lily Langtry, British-American artist, model, stage actress. His neighbour's wife, theatrical producer, thoroughbred owner and socialite, dies at 75 on this day, 1929. Winston Churchill becomes the British Minister for Colonies on this day in 1921. Oh, that would get your statue torn down, wouldn't it? Wow! Can't have that. Whoa!
It wasn't Minister of Collars.
Minister of Collars? I don't get it.
That's my joke. Rather than colonies.
Oh, no.
It could just be a spelling mistake.
No, it's colonies. Definitely colonies. Yeah. Al Jarreau, American jazz singer, 2017, dies at 76. Charles Darwin, English naturalist, origin of the species, who conceived the theory of evolution by natural selection. He was born this day in 1809. He died in 1882. Now, do join us tomorrow around the dining room table, ladies and gentlemen. JeremyCordeaux.com, that's what you go to. Or you go to, is it MyTuner or?
Simple Radio app.
Simple Radio app. If
download.
If you've got that on your phone, it's a free download, and I think it picks up the program that we live stream better than anything else. Simple Radio.
Indeed. Simple
Okay.
Radio.
And don't forget to press the subscribe button.
You must press subscribe on Facebook, and then it will automatically bob up on a Tuesday. And
Okay,
a Thursday.
that's good advice. A Tuesday and a Thursday, press subscribe on Facebook and I will pop up. And otherwise, on the Friday show, you will have me in the palm of your hand. All right?
As Caroline does.
Which is where I like to be. Now, let's not go too far.
It's not encouraging.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, and I look forward to your company tomorrow. Lots of interesting guests, lots to talk about. Believe in yourself, and thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.